Green Bay for future Packers home games. The team will not host fans at Lambeau for the indefinite future due to high levels of COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations in the Green Bay area. The Packers tweeting out this reminder here to wear a mask. If Vince Lombardi can do it, so can you. It definitely helps with the spread of the virus. So the Packers and the Niners, they were both hit with COVID cases this week. A.J. Dillon was placed on the reserve COVID list on Monday, and Kendrick Bourne on Wednesday, leading to additional players in close contact also being placed on that reserve list. For more on how the Packers are dealing with their COVID-related issues, we send it out to Omar Ruiz in Santa Clara. Good afternoon, Omar.
Hello, Colleen. When the Packers found out about A.J. Dillon's positive test on Monday, they worked virtually. Even when they were back in the building on Tuesday, they did some virtual work as well. Even though they had their meetings in person, some of the players were in different rooms and then zoomed into the meetings so they could have as much space as possible. Of playing tonight amidst all these circumstances, Davante Adams says this is what we signed up for. He said when they get here between the sidelines tonight, they'll be ready to play.
All right, something to watch out for on the field in Santa Clara. Omar, thank you for that update. So the Packers and Niners without some key players, but the same can't be said for the Seahawks. They're getting some help on the way. Jamal Adams is back on Sunday versus the Bills. He made an immediate impact for the Seahawks after getting traded by the Jets, but has been out of the mix with a groin injury since week 3. Another All-Pro potentially returning to the game Sunday. This to the Saints, Michael Thomas. We haven't seen him since he injured his ankle week 1. Then on top of that, he tweaked his hamstring in practice and was suspended for fighting a teammate. So hopefully he'll be back in time to face the Bucs. Then on the other side, former Steeler, now Tampa Bay wide receiver Antonio Brown will be back on the field for the first time since week 2 of last year when he was in a Patriots uniform. So Brown and Brady back together again for a crucial divisional game. Here was AB yesterday.
Well, I just been spending a lot of time with family, working on myself within, and just staying resilient, keeping the mind on the mission. That's being a football player and doing all the things that come with that. Even when the times get hard, keeping myself in shape, keeping myself motivated from within, not listening to the naysayers or not giving doubt or worries about will I be able to return. I had good trainers, good people around me in my corner that kept me encouraged, that kept me motivated. And I just believe, I knew one day I would get a chance to be back in this position. And I just try to check every box to make sure when I was able to get back, that I was ready to go.
So these top teams in the NFC are getting some stars back on the field here, or just in general. So, Joe, which returning player will have the biggest impact on the playoff race?
Well, some big names on the list, Colleen. And when you're talking about the biggest impact, this one's easy because that's a function as much of how good you are, but how bad the unit you're playing on is without you. And nobody is worse right now on defense than the Seattle Seahawks. They're 32nd in the NFL. That's not hyperbole. And their pass defense is also 32nd. They're just as bad. And so when Jamal Adams comes back, he's going to bring this extreme competitiveness to that defense. And that alone can lift the performance of all 10 other players on the field with him. If you guys remember that old saying about when the tide comes in, all boats rise, well, Jamal Adams, he is the Seahawks tide. And when he gets back on the field, he's going to bring that elite competitiveness with him, and he's going to lift all those defensive boats around him, and they're going to be a much better unit. No longer the seller of the NFC. He is a difference maker, and he's going to be the biggest impact when he comes back in the NFC.
Joe, he impacts the run, he impacts the pass, and they need help in both areas. You are absolutely correct with that. But for me, guys, even though I love Jamal Adams and all of those, when you're talking about Jamal Adams fitting back into Seattle, that's making them whole again. Even Michael Thomas fitting back into the Saints, that's making them whole again. But Antonio Brown going to the already team that is whole, and that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that's what we're calling an addition. That's an addition. That's taking them over the top. And that way, he will have, I think, the biggest impact. And you heard him talking about it right there. that I stayed ready. I stayed in shape. So when I got the opportunity, I would be ready to go. Words I think all of the receivers for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers need to hear, but because this kid knows how to practice, and now we're about to raise the level of practice, which will raise, Joe, like you talked about, all boats in that ocean for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Steve.
I agree with what you said, Mike, and what Joe has said, because I do believe we're talking about these three players. They all impact. But we have to pick one. And I'm going with Jamal Adams because the Seahawks are not very good. They are dead last in everything, and they need a guy. They need their voice. They need that anchor. That guy, what we call a pistol starter, a troublemaker on the football field that gets into the heads of the other quarterback for the offense, which is the quarterback. But he's the quarterback for that defense, and he just ignites them, and that's what I'm looking at. The Seahawks are missing something, and that something is Jamal Adams. That's why they gave up so much draft equity, because of the immediate impact that he has, and he becomes an asset to the Seahawks. And the return on investment is nice.
The Seahawks are definitely missing a pass rush for sure, and he is their best pass rusher. So getting that back will be huge for them. But how about one player the Niners could use back in the lineup? Because they could use a whole lot of players back in the lineup. But Deebo Samuel, he won't play tonight, but